Hello, beautifuls. Welcome to Intuitive Conversations with Kristine Keeland and Renee Kane. I'm Kristine.
I'm Renee. As best friends and intuitives, we have fantastic conversations in all things spiritual. We have been inspired to share these conversations with you.
Hello, Renee.
Hi, girlfriend. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Really excited to have another conversation. And, this energy's been ramping up all year since January, February, March. Getting into the fall, there's this new essence to the air, the energy. There's electricity that I haven't felt before. There's I want to say it smells like sulfur, and that's not accurate. But there's a newness of possibility and potential in the vibratory field, now the frequency field, that does actually have a different scent to it.
I agree.
Color, scent. Yeah, so there's this excitement. And as we were talking a little bit before we got on today, the soul needs to take the lead. What's still, what's active.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like there's not the calm before the storm. Maybe it is the calm before the storm.
Could be.
But there's this, yeah. So how are you feeling right now?
I'm finding it's really interesting and having conversations with other people too. Like I've had more than once in the last couple of weeks. People say, there's just a different smell. Isn't there a different smell? And it's like, yeah, there is. And I know we've had fires and things here, but it's not that.
No,
I think it's something other than that. I mean, that is in and of itself something different too.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a different thing, and I can identify with it because a number of people have referred to it as a chemical smell, which the sulfur is a chemical smell to me. So it's like
there's something it's different,
not completely definable.
No. I went for a bike ride the other night, and we had just had a really kind of intense storm, hail, and a lot of trees went down and everything. And then we had the Canadian fires. I went for a bike ride, and I've had, you know what a storm smells like. You know what the earth moist smells like. And you know what fire smells like. But it was a different quality, and it actually was a different scent. And I don't have definition for it, but I can actually see the chemical, the carbon based, or the symbols they're showing me is different than I've seen before. It's looks like backwards hieroglyphics, but that's good, Kristine. Not quite correct, but in your cue cards you have in your head, that's okay, that's close. Yeah, it's just a different.
It's just something. For me, it comes across as it's an underlying odor, scent, whatever you want to call it. It's
an opening.
It's something new.
Yeah, it's like this opening coming out of the earth, and this necessity to be really grounded into your carbon body, into your platform, to really grounded into earth in a way we haven't been. Like we've been kind of hiding in the earth, like we've been hiding a little bit in the density of the earth and the darkness of the earth. And darkness, I just mean, not an ability to hold a higher vibration. So I mean by darkness. It's like there's this cracking open, and I think what we're sensing is the different frequency that's becoming available, and it does smell different, sound different, has a different drum beat, has a different color. So yeah, it's really interesting. And I think, and it's that ability to learn to listen and to be. For me, it's to focus without a necessary outcome.
And it's actually not new.
No.
It's very ancient. And we've buried it, and we're cracking it open. Yay for us.
Yeah. Woohoo!
Yay for us. We're getting back to some of our original soul plan. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to talk about soul plan a little bit today too.
Let's.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's cracking open all of these programs that we have stacked on ourselves, kind of like I see it like those old jukeboxes where there's records, and that's how we've stacked all this crap on top of. Yeah. And it's like we're breaking those off.
Yep. And then there's one pulls out of the stack, right?
Yep.
And you can play something different,
and we're cracking open this new to us but ancient vibration.
And it's like going back, there's an origin in there. Not an origin story, but there's an origin vibrational holding space too. And like there's a soul plan for the individual, there's still a soul plan for this humanity, there's a soul plan for the planet, for the being the planet. So let's look at all those different soul plans and how do we create a soul plan? Do we adjust our soul plans? Who's involved in a soul plan? All kind of cool things.
Pieces.
And maybe it's a new concept to people, or maybe it's something they're very, maybe you guys are very familiar with it. But, understanding your own soul plan, how it's created, is really important, I think. Good thing to understand.
It can be very helpful to look at.
Yeah.
And it's uber important to understand that you can create and have a soul plan when you come. It does not mean that it has to stay in that exact plan, shape, or form because you created it before you came here.
Yeah.
We still have the ability to make the changes necessary for us to achieve the end result that we're going for.
And I think in this era, this 100-year frame, it's really important that we we follow our own flow and that we adjust and we really do understand what free will is. And I'm just hearing back up a little bit, like a soul plan. One, to have a soul plan for this planet is not available for all beings. You have to have a certain amount of savvy, perhaps, because this is a planet of great potential, and it's very new. So working in a new system where all the kinks aren't worked out, you need a little bit of flexibility and awareness of self, right? Because you're going into a place that's not very aware.
Correct.
Yeah, and so in your soul plan, you have your whole you have the ability to look at yourself fully, everything you've experienced everywhere. How does this experience I'm going into? I'm going to land in 1960 for me. I'm landing in 1961, right? What am I going to pull in all the wisdom from other parts of me, wherever that may exist? What's my best potential that I want to experience? And who am I going to involve in that? Who's going to help me? Who am I going to assist?
Who jumps in and says, I'll help you, Kristine.
What makes the biggest spice in life? They're showing me like a big bowl of chili, or they're making it very simple for us, I think. Big bowl of chili or like a vegetable soup. So the broth may be, see if this makes sense. The broth is the soul's essence and everything that I understand about myself. And then I may add, some spice or carrots, or everything you add is an experience that will add flavor to the life experience. And it'll be, so you can look and just see, wow, the taste of a carrot is very sweet and very adds to my vegetable soup. I got ahead a little bit. I missed a point here, but so part of the soul plan is putting together all the pieces that will make the best soup for your life experience. Where's all my spices? Where's all my vegetables? Where's my however you want to put it together, and then you get the best. But if you want to, you can just pull out a ladle and have a little bit of something to look at, because the whole entire wisdom of your spirit creates a soul plan with others. And for some, it may be, there's a concept I want to understand. It's a diligent process. I'm looking at, I've done this before. I've had multiple soul plans. I kind of know where my kinks are. This one I kind of came and kind of slid into the body really too quick.
Sometimes
perhaps.
That happens.
Or maybe that was the intention, is to have a haphazard. What's it like to have kind of a haphazard plan? To not have everything so defined. Then there may be another soul experience where I want to have, pretty much I know I want to work on these big concepts. But I'm really pulling partners to help me achieve that, understand it, come to some wisdom with that. So there's multiple ways to do it, but it always involves the highest wisdom, I guess. And a big way to explain it?
Sure. And that's why sometimes we find it, I'm going to use the word confusing, to look at someone and say, why are they living like this or doing this, or why is this their experience? They may have chosen, when they created their soul plan, to come in and experience this exact thing. So for us to say, there's something wrong with them experiencing that, we need to always look at that. We can go in, if they'll let us, and see what their soul plan looks like, and it's oftentimes they don't want you to see it, so you can't. It's just, it's that total ability to be able to love outside of ourselves, love everything about whomever we're working with, unconditionally, totally, because they have their own soul plan. I have my own soul plan.
Absolutely.
Kristine has her own soul plan. Yeah. Do we overlap? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes we overlap with people. It's why sometimes you look and you don't understand why someone's having all this stuff happen in their life. It's part of their soul plan.
Yeah. Yep. And there may be, a lot of people ask me, well, why would I have this life experience that seems so extreme or really tough, or how come I can't get past this? Soul plans for a definite time period, right?
Yes.
But it's like one slice of a great big thing. It's like one page of a 1,000-page book. And the reason we have on our soul plan to have some difficulties because one, we see the value in it for ourselves and perhaps for others, but also an understanding on a really deep conscious level that I can withstand this, that I feel that I can, I can grow from this. I do have an understanding that this is my best, and I do need a full picture of something. Sometimes it's, the opposite end of what you've experienced, something else, but it's a knowing. And there's even a bit of excitement that I can not power through it. Maybe it is powering through it.
Could be.
But this brings value to me. It's not, in the physical, it's overwhelming and can be even something that's like really great and grand.
Yes, can be.
Right?
That way.
But it's always that this is my best and I'm excited to do it. And so the things that look tragic and traumatic are in our limited viewpoint until we get a bigger understanding.
Well, and a good example of, I think, what I was trying to say too is, there are souls that come to planet Earth and they don't stay with us very long. It's when a child leaves unexpectedly or whatever, and we tend to fall into this grief and why syndrome, etc.
Yeah.
Yet that really is their soul plan.
That's their perfect soul plan.
They only came to experience up to that point what they needed to experience.
Yeah.
So for us to get locked into the sorrow and the grief, we got to grieve when someone leaves us.
Absolutely.
That I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but we need to be not stuck in someone else's soul plan. We need to be moving through our soul plan.
And recognize that is part of our soul plan. To have somebody in our life that lives 100 years with us, lives us up from birth to whatever our death is, or somebody that comes in for a few seconds, a few moments, comes in for, and that is the natural flow of life. You have friends that are here for, maybe you've had them since preschool and you have them till, for some that's short term, but I'm glad you mentioned that because it is a misunderstanding to people that people come and leave the body not under their own free will, or that something's happened to them. A lot of the souls that come in have a very short life period. Like they have such a great, like, celebratory. I did it, and I express what I want to express. The giving and receiving sometimes is in perfect harmony, and that may be what they're working on. So again, it's like there's always it's like big. These big, beautiful markers and watercolors and symphonies that we put into our soul plan. There's so much effort and so much concentration and diligence, dedication. There's such dedication to our soul plans, and they build on each life experience, the multiple life experiences.
Yes. Yeah. There are so many aspects to all of this that to stay stagnant in thinking in one line of thought or in one moment of this soul plan is actually harmful to us. It actually doesn't allow us to be who we are. And I'm not going to say that's always easy to get yourself out of, but you can, because you've created this plan that allows you for that. And if you are focused on seeing who that person is, or that being, or that experience is, that will bounce you out of something you're stuck in, then you're moving forward in your soul plan.
Yeah.
But you have to be vigilant, and you have to be aware and observing at all times. If we tend to leave ourselves stagnant and just floating in this little pool of grief or doubt or whatever you want to call it, that's when we end up just not living our soul plan. That's when we end up just closing off to everything.
It becomes a very small, limited life. And that may be part of your soul plan to have limitation, right? Because we come to limitation. And I want to mention one thing, and then I have a question for you too. I want to make sure we look at why would we create a soul plan? I hear somebody asking, like, why would you even start one? Like, why would you have a roadmap? But when we feel like we're off, and are we off, like, how do we help someone?
Yes.
To understand, like, what you were just talking about. How would you help someone with that? Or how have you helped yourself?
Well, I can say how I've helped myself clearly when I know that I'm just like languishing in something that is just I'm done with, but for whatever reason it's still clinging to me. Then I call you, or I call another couple friends I can call, and I just say, all right, this is where I'm at. I know that I'm hanging on to something. I know it needs to go. For whatever reason, I'm hanging on really tight. And then I work it through with somebody.
Yeah.
And then they can say, oh, hey, I can see this in your energy field. And I'll be like, oh, you're right.
Yeah. Now
sometimes
the bell goes off, right?
Yeah, the bell goes off. Sometimes we need assistance. Oftentimes we can get there, but boy, it's really nice to have assistance with others. And
so nice to have support. And sometimes you're hanging on to something, sometimes you're grabbing for something. And
both ways.
Have some support and direction guidance. Like, what am I grabbing for? Is that actually my best? Like, what am I reaching for? Like, reaching is such a great thing because it stretches you, but it's nice to have a check-in once in a while.
Yes.
Is this reach my best? What I'm reaching for, what I'm grabbing for, is that what I really want to pull into my experience?
And I think that's a big one. I'm reaching for something way over here that isn't even in my soul plan.
Yeah. And then that gets very frustrating.
And that can be helpful because sometimes when I've helped other people, when they're trying to move forward, it's very simple. It's like you have the conversation and then something pops in, a word or two, and then they go, oh my goodness, that's it. I mean, it's just that quick because we usually get to it ourselves. It's just somebody will just say a word or two or make a phrase. It's like, why am I reaching for that? That isn't even where I want to go.
And when I'm looking at soul plans right now, there's a space. I look at a soul plan, and sometimes they look like, because they look different according to like who created it and what their creative vibe is. Sometimes like Post-it notes, or I see markers. It looks like very. Well, this is interesting. Like a preschooler's creating a poster board, or a middle schooler. So that depends. I'm hearing now that depends. Like how many times have you created a soul plan? The first couple times you create a soul plan, it may not have as much information on it. It may be kind of a beginner plan. And then I lost my train of thought for just a minute. So hang with me. I got too many streams going here. Reel me in, Renee. Where was I going with this?
All right. Creating soul plans.
Creating the soul plan. Yeah. So typically it's a conceptual thing. What's the concept I'm working on? Is it self-responsibility? Is it compassion for self, compassion for others? Is it focus? Is it whatever? And then you have all these interjections with other people or life experience that will help you understand and evolve, expand that concept. Yeah.
This is just popping in for me, so I'm not quite sure how it fits, other than that. In our life experiences, are there people, and I'm talking to all of you as well as Chris and I, are there people who show up in your life at just the right moment, and then they're gone again?
Absolutely.
And then they show up 5 years later at just the right moment, and then they're gone again.
Yeah. And they're part of the coordinators.
They're part of it, yes.
It's like you have this great big powwow, you have this great big, gathering way before you even think about incarnating. There's this soul gathering, an energetic gathering, and how am I going to show up? How I can help you. I've got a piece. It's this beautiful orchestration. Yeah, sometimes it's meant for just 5 minutes, 5 seconds, 5 years, and then in and out.
And it's so
come back later, and maybe they come back in later because you weren't quite
You're slipping a little, maybe
slipping, right?
Yep.
I need a little help here.
Yep.
A little inspiration, a reminder maybe.
I think that's absolutely one of those things. We think of it in a way as a synchronicity, which it is.
Yeah.
But I would ask you to just look back in your life at certain people, and when they show up, they're a part of your soul group. They're a part of who you lined up or agreed with to be a part of your life. And they pop in as needed.
As needed. And this reminds me of Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers.
Uh-huh.
He won an award, I think a Lifetime Achievement Award for his show. And part of his speech was he asked everybody to take a moment of silence and thank all the people that brought him to this point in their life. Just take a moment.
Cool.
Reminds me of what you're talking about. And they are all part of that soul plan. So when that feels right to you, maybe just take a moment and just feel the presence of others that have helped you along in what you consider right or wrong, because it's all valuable. And really embrace the love you received, acknowledge the love you're giving out, and is there harmony, is there balance, or again, it's neither right or wrong, but it may be an awareness tool for you. Is there a part of me that has difficulty giving love or receiving love? And that can be part of your soul plan. I'm working through that. But just when you said that, I just wanted to mention that's such a wonderful acknowledgement that we have all these people.
They're present.
And beings and trees and animals. Like we have a lot of help. And that is the value of a soul plan, is knowing that we aren't on this journey alone.
No, we're not.
This experience. And there's a lot of help and support and sometimes interference. It feels like interference, but that's actually part of your soul plan.
Yep.
Who's going to interfere? And that gives me the determination maybe.
That brings me to the place where I'd like to start at. When we are in our soul plan actively, when we are inactive in our soul plan, and potentially when we are in someone else's soul plan. Those are three distinctive areas that I think sometimes we fall. And it can get a little muddled, I'll say, when our soul plan crosses with another's and we're together. And then when we need to not be together, do you see what I'm saying? Sometimes our soul plans merge, and then there's a time to let them go. And then I'm no longer part of it because I've agreed to work with you on this piece. Now you're moving your direction and I'm moving my direction. Sometimes we don't let that go, and sometimes we hang on a little bit
stay
longer.
Entangled, right?
Yeah. Perfect word. We stay entangled when it's not our time.
And it can be a distraction to pay attention to someone else's life experience or life, because
then you're not living yours.
Yeah, and as you move along, sometimes it can be, sometimes the restriction feels good. The distraction is helpful to the mental mind. That's how I've observed it.
It can be, yes. Yeah. And so that is one of the questions you can ask yourself each and every day. Am I participating in my soul plan today?
So how do you notice when you're maybe looking at someone else's plan, not paying too much attention to yours? Does it feel like interference, or does it feel like, how do you recognize it?
For me, all of a sudden it pops in like, well, this is a complete distraction. This really has nothing to do with you. Why are you so focused over here on this person?
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you the trigger that does that for me, but the awareness usually comes in.
And sometimes that comes in through perhaps the experience of judging. I'm judging someone else's experience of right or wrong, or I'm like, we could call. I always call you're nosy. Like, why are you paying attention to someone else's life? And it's not that you're not interested.
No.
But when you're really paying so much more attention, or getting involved with judginess or righteousness, or I know what's right, and I think everybody's had that stream run through them. Like, I need to be right, or I am right. And it's different than I know.
Yes.
It's different than I have this inner knowing this is best for me, or maybe I'm having a sense this may be best for you, I can share this with you. But when I need to be right, you're doing something wrong. Or I was with people this week and they were talking about how couples bicker back and forth, right? Or parents, and it's like, that's that need to be right. That's when you're really not, perhaps, maybe that's part of your soul plan, is to understand righteousness and power of one another, what it is to be right as opposed to this to be what is to know. Maybe that's something you're developing. And you start your soul plan kind of at maturity of your own soul
Mm-hmm.
in physical form. So that's part of your soul plan, how you're going to evolve. But I loved how you said, looking at your own soul plan, and earlier in the conversation, we had talked about having space, like is your soul actively involved, your soul having,
Mm-hmm.
is it a silent time? And right now, for some, I see kind of a blank space on a soul plan. I see a lot of activity, like the beginning, up from whenever they're born, like for me, the 96
Mm-hmm.
went to about now. And I see a lot afterwards, but there's about 6 months to even 2 years where it feels like there's not a lot of activity going on. There's just more space. It's a different vibration frequency. It's like it's written in a different pen on the soul plan. And that's perfect because it allows the expansion of the mind and the heart and the body and the soul and the consciousness. The consciousness is already expanded, and that's part of the soul plan. And it's a collective soul plan and an individual soul plan. And in this collective soul plan is this opportunity for humanity to expand in a way that we have not yet been able to hold this frequency. An individual, there's a space for, yes, I'm going to adjust to this frequency coming in. I'm going to play my fiddle in this new orchestration. Or maybe in some, it's like, this is enough.
Mm-hmm.
I've done. This feels right. This feels like this is all I need to experience in this physical body. I don't need to understand a new vibration. So have you recognized at all the space and the stillness, like when to be active in your soul plan and when to be quiet? Because it feels different.
It feels very different. And I do totally get what you're talking about, because that stillness quite often is where I get my most information.
Yeah.
So when I am actively moving through my soul plan, I'm on purpose, I'm on task, I'm on whatever you want to call it, on mission.
Yep.
And my personality leads to being so focused on being that I sometimes forget to pause and listen. So I will pick up the most information when I'm in that pause mode, and that's when I hear. Doesn't mean I stop the other, but it's like I resonate with both. And for me and my soul plan, it's very important to have both that very active piece and that very, I need my stillness, I need my quiet, I need my alone time, so I can just be in that complete fullness of me so that I can hear.
And I find this so interesting. It's so important to not negate either quality,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then and like you said, that stillness and that doing nothing, sometimes that's when the inspiration comes in and the direction comes in. And it's been a challenge I've seen for myself and others, sometimes getting out of that I'm productive,
Mm-hmm.
because that feels different in the space of just being and becoming a difference, whatever that may be for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is letting go of some old things that have been on your soul plan.
Yes, they have.
And have been on the collective soul plan. What's productivity and what's, where's your worth and your value? You need an outcome. Like you need to have a time clock at the end of the day. And here's my receipt. I did so many hours of work and now I get something back from it.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you're recognizing that.
Yeah,
and allowing that.
It's very important. And one of the tricks, you asked me earlier, I shouldn't say really a trick, you asked earlier about how I recognize that. I often, when I'm asking myself if I'm on plan or if I'm distracted or whatever, if I'm looking at somebody else's whatever, I'll put my hand on my heart and I just say, is this mine? Is this mine? And the heart doesn't lie.
No.
And it'll say, nope, or yeah, you agreed to this. Keep on task, That is probably what I use the most often, because it goes right to my heart then. When it's that physical sense of I'm listening to my heart, I'm still, I'm in a pause mode, and I'm asking, is this mine?
And that brings you into complete awareness, that hand in the heart. It's a containment of self. And you and I both taught, like the grandchildren, other people's lives, like this is what you do. And sometimes my grands remind me.
Yeah.
And I love that technique. I know for me, I notice when I'm either been on a part of my soul plan that I need to shift out of, like I've already have the wisdom here, or I'm looking at someone else's soul plan, getting involved in their life, I get irritated.
Oh.
When I get irritated, that's my clue. What am I irritated about? Okay, I'm doing something longer than is best for me, whatever it may be. Maybe it's the experience of thing that comes up, like, financial responsibility, something like that.
Okay.
Could be organization, or could be compassion,
Whatever.
whatever it may be, right? Whatever it may be. If I'm really have it, but I'm still kind of playing in the sandbox, I don't need to have that experience anymore. I'm getting irritated because it's like dragging out. Or if I'm looking at somebody else's, I'm not really paying attention. I'm distracting myself from somebody else.
Someone else.
Then I start to get irritated. Like, well, why am I irritated? Like, that's none of my business. Curiosity's nice. Like, how else does the world navigate? I'm really interested. What can I learn from this? For me, that's just my clue. I've just learned over the years, like, the irritation is something's off in me. And then I get to ask.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes irritation is it's a spotlight for me. Yeah.
And I found that really is really helpful for me in being non-judgmental. Because is it mine? No. So then I know that it's no longer anything I need to participate in. But that's very clear to me that it's theirs to participate in. Yeah. It's someone else's, but it's not mine. So there's no judgment on, well, they're looking at that and I'm not. That's theirs, this is mine. And
it also helps when you see, like, nothing's happening to you. There's that phrase on that before, but you get to look at, like, okay, if there is, I absolutely know there's a soul plan. We see it, we understand it, but, maybe that's a new concept. Start to see, well, this is part of a map. This is my map for this life. How does this person bring this experience to me? Maybe they are beating me over the head. But what am I gaining from this? Maybe I'm getting out of someone having power over me. Yeah. Maybe I'm getting out of not having a voice. Maybe I'm getting out of, maybe I'm having another flipping the coin of what it is to be abusive to someone, or be too suffocating, too much, overly protected, like whatever it may be. There's a value that's, like you said, it's not you're not judging it, just like, what is this?
And I think we come with our soul plan intact.
Yeah.
And correct me if this doesn't feel accurate to you, but it's pounding in my head here. So it's like, you may achieve your original soul plan, and you are, yay, hooray, hooray. You can choose to stay. You can create additions, addendums,
you can have
whatever you want to call it.
You can have 4 volumes if you want. Right?
Yes. You can choose to leave, or you can choose to stay.
Yeah. And that's like a mind-blowing concept with this. That you got to choose. You do choose. You choose when you're born. You choose when you leave, and you have different addendums and things. And you choose, like, what family belief system am I being born into? What's my parental structure? Are there parents? What are my siblings? What economic structure? Where do I live in the world? Like, what's my gender? What's my ethnic, and all that? And you get to adjust. Like, you get to, and it is like you can keep adding pages. And maybe this is a bigger soul plan than you thought. It might take a couple lifetimes to fully complete it. Depending on what's on it.
It may.
Maybe it's a whole new concept. But yeah, there's that free will and that choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, hard to wrap yourself around some of it, because we have been trained, programmed, to believe that here's the plan, A to Z, and this is how we're going to get there. And then when you get to Z, it's done.
Yeah. And it's been kind of the system when we've been.
It doesn't matter, how you think or whatever. What we're trying to say is, it's way freer than that. Yeah. And that's part of dropping the programming. It's in understanding there are multiple ways to get from here to here.
Yeah.
And even if you get from here to here, guess what? There's from here to here again.
I get to do more.
I get to do more. So,
and maybe you branch out and do different things. I want to understand this concept in this way. And there's no limitation to a soul plan.
Exactly.
Sometimes the belief systems and the bodies and stuff kind of limits the expansion of the soul plan, right? Because maybe for whatever reason the body's not in a place to support further life, right? But there's always that potential. And that's what we're seeing now. I see many people, they've completed the soul plan. They just say, whoop, I'm writing up a new one.
Yep, let's go. I got more to add on.
Got more
Let's
to
go.
do.
Let's go.
And that's a collective soul plan too.
It
Like,
is.
we are going back further beyond than we
It
thought we could.
is. I actually see that, as a collective, we have not been this fully involved in the collective
Yeah.
in eons. There are way more people aware of the collective, of participating in the collective than there's been for, I'm like billions. I mean, way
And people
back.
are so much more aware of choice.
Yes.
Like, they have so much more choice in their life. And we've seen the pendulum just this last century. We've seen the pendulum swing, from I have no say in my life, or I'm oppressed, with all these different, movements that have come forward.
Yep.
And that gives you some information, see where that lands and how that, shifts the scenery around you and the landscape around you. And then maybe we, bring in another piece. Like, it's this beautiful rhythm. We're understanding our own rhythm. And then we get to create a rhythm by bringing in other instruments and other participants and it's just
Other
such a cool,
vibrations,
I gotta find a better vocabulary than just cool. But
I don't know, but that word's really been in mind lately.
Yeah.
It's just like, cool.
and we use the word delight a lot. Like, it really is a delight. It is such a delightful experience to drop into a physical body and to leave this free, expansive, ever creative, ever flowing environment without a body, and like really drop into a limited field. You wonder what the heck.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
But even people that have a really, hard life, there's moments of glory, and there's, those moments stretch out, and they become more delightful when you can just see this, when you don't have the judgment, is this right or wrong? We have this belief that things are right and wrong, good and evil. There's a lot of maybe in between there. It's a maybe. Well, maybe this is good, maybe this is bad. It's a soul's evolution. There's no right or wrong experience.
It's what we come
It's
to.
interpretation and sometimes you have to hold it in a place of, gosh, this is really traumatic for me.
It is sometimes, yes.
Yeah, I stubbed my toe. I don't want to do my stub my toe again.
Yep.
And there's support in your soul plan in multiple ways. Is this something I'm going to experience and hold this space, this understanding for, maybe I hold it for 56 years, and maybe it's a 2-week thing and I bring something else in the soul plan. I think as we evolve, we'll have a better understanding of our soul plan, and more people will be able to read their own soul plan. But right now we have people that can do it for us and help us out. And like, isn't that wonderful? Like, we have all these tools right here, like right in our hand.
I'm hearing the word grandeur. It's like this enormous body of knowledge, wisdom, beauty, our essence. It's always there and present. So when you find yourself in a place of feeling less than, or limited, or simply down for whatever reason, look for that part of you. I mean, train yourself, if you will, that when you go down that path, to just look at that spark that leads you to the gloriousness, the magnificence of you. That will assist you in pulling yourself back into your plan and out of the distraction that might be taking you a different way.
And I think they're showing me that's the mental clue that we need to pay attention to.
Okay.
I mentioned a few minutes ago my vocabulary is very limited. Like, I use the word cool or whatever, right, a lot. But let's start adding majestic and grand and glorious and magnificent and
yes.
I can see the words for this, like you're talking about, this beautiful expression of self. It's you can feel the words, but it's just I keep hearing the word majestic too. It's
yes.
Let's paint with a broader palette. Like all that box of crayons, 64 crayons. We start with kindergarten. We have 6 crayons, they're really fat, and then you start bringing these. Like, let's start bringing more color. Like, let's go back to our spark, right?
Yes.
So just maybe remembering, I am this, as Renee's saying, this beautiful, grand, majestic being, this human being, And this is a moment in my time. This is just a moment.
This is just
a moment.
Brief moment.
Just a moment. And more of me understands something different. Maybe it's the opposite, or maybe it's just something a little bit different. But let's bring into our vocabulary who you really are.
That's wonderful.
Grandeur and splendor and magnificent and glorious.
Majestic.
And, delightful. Maybe that, I think I'll do it. Maybe that's something you guys want to do, the listeners, is start writing a new vocabulary for yourself and just see what words come to you. Yeah. Start with a piece of paper. And,
I am. And
isn't that, when children learn how to talk, what can they express with? What feels good?
I love that.
If you're finding it's a hard time to find those words for yourself, be curious. Well, why is it hard for me to say I'm majestic and I'm beautiful? And, you and I both have experience where ourselves and others to even say I love myself. That's a major
huge
one.
Shift.
There's a lot of belief systems around that. And I think for a lot of people that are soul planners to be able to be in a place of self-love.
Absolutely.
That is actually a global collective soul plan right now.
Mm-hmm.
To be in self-love, to be in awareness, and to be eyes wide open.
Very accurate. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a great place to be right now, isn't it?
It is. It's magnificent.
It's magnificent. It's marvelous. It's supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
It is all of that.
And I think that's a good thing to remember right now, because there may be some unrest in your life. There's relationships changing. There's a lot of change going on right now. It is part of your soul plan. It's part of the collective soul plan. And there is something better coming.
Oh yeah, always.
Always. And it's that non-space and non-judgment. Anything you want to add to today's conversation?
I was just going to say, so all you beautiful people, shine forth your magnificence, your majesty,
and I'm just
the glorious,
wonderful
eating that you are.
And one addendum, right? Because people do a lot of visionary boards, so that's been a thing. That's a microcosm of your soul plan.
It is.
It helps you understand your soul plan.
Yep.
So it kind of chunks it down. It's the same thing, but on a grander scale. So that works for you, you use that. But you're also recognizing I'm tapping into my own wisdom here. This is already on my plan. This just helps me focus in to what I want and get out of my limitation of myself. And that, so it's dream big, Lori.
Hey, go for it. You got it.
Yeah. Thanks, beauty.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, everybody.
We are forever grateful to you, our listener. You inspire us to continue listening with our hearts,
to share what we know, and to expand love, peace, and joy within ourselves and others. Until next time, this is Kristine Keeland
and Renee Keene. Be love, give love, and receive love.